Hi there, DIY Dave here, bringing you another great how-to in this beautiful November day. In fact, it's so sunny, it's so beautiful that I got to put my shades on. Today we're going to focus on blowing out my in-ground sprinklers and properly winterizing the system. And I'm going to show you the steps in which I take to do that with my system. I want to caution, every system's a little bit different, so what you're going to see here may not be applicable to your system, but the process in blowing out your lines is about the same. So the way it works around here, they get $80 for 4 zones each season, just to blow out your sprinklers. This system here cost me $125, so in 2 seasons this more than pays for itself. The added bonus I get is I get to hook up a bunch of different fun tools to this and complete a bunch of different projects around the house that I otherwise wouldn't have completed, or I could even dream up projects that I haven't even dreamed up because I didn't have one of these. If I didn't have a need for those tools, buying this compressor alone is a money saver investment for me. So it all starts with a compressor. This compressor I have here is 8 gallons, 125 psi. Probably the smallest compressor that you want to use for this job. If you have a bigger one, even better. The most important part about doing this is making sure that you have the proper PSI to blow it out and the proper tank size, right? This, like I said, is an 8-gallon tank. You don't want to go any smaller than this because it's going to become ineffective. But I've been doing this for 10 years with this system and I've been perfectly fine. I've had no issues. You might hear people say it might take hours. I suppose if you have 16 zones, it could take a few hours. I have 4 zones, which is about average for homeowners, and that takes me about a half hour. And it's a quick half hour, right? Because I can multitask when I'm doing that. All right, so when you do this, you can damage your system, so you want to absolutely make sure that you know what you're doing and that you're comfortable doing this. If you're not comfortable doing things like this, or if you're not comfortable working with a compressor, then you absolutely want to hire a professional and keep a professional involved. What you don't want to have happen is you don't want to ruin your system. If you put too much PSI, you can blow out your sprinkler heads where they can skyrocket to the sky. If you put too little PSI, you will not get all the water out and you'll have some freezing issues that'll cause you problems down the road. And so this is an important step to make sure that as long as you're comfortable doing this, you can go ahead and do this. I'm going to show you what I do, and hopefully that's applicable for what you do. All right, so stick with me and I'm going to show you the steps in which I take to blow out my system, and hopefully I can help you with that too. Okay, step 1. You want to make sure you turn off your water supply. You do not want to start anything until your water supply is turned off. Every house is a little different in how it's installed, but it's generally the same thing. There is a valve right here where you just go and you just turn it off, crank it off. What I found was wherever your solenoid box is for your system, which mine, if you follow the pipe out, that's the outside of the house. That's where the box is. And so this is the water line that's feeding the sprinkler system. So to turn it off is simple. When it's parallel to this pipe, that means it's on. What you want to do is just take it and turn it off like that. And now you have it off, and now you're ready to go and start to blow out your system. All right, so now what I need to do here is I need to drain out the system, and this is the plug that's here. So what you want to do here is you want to take this plug off. Channel locks will do. Usually it could be metal, it could be plastic. These could be inside the house. They could be in a closet. Mine happens to be outside. Every house is a little different. So I just go ahead and I just take this off. And then what you'll see is you'll see water start to drain out. And you see that just pours right out. Not a lot of water comes out. This comes right out of here. Then you want to clean the threads, just like you saw me do there. You want to make sure all that plumber's tape is all out. This is all clean. So then with this plug, for the winter, you don't want to plug this back in, right? Because what could happen here is your actual line inside, it may leak, it may not leak, someone may turn it on accidentally, very highly unlikely, but the ball valve that's inside that shuts off could possibly leak. And over time, if that starts to fill, it starts to fill this whole system back up. If this is open, it'll just leak out, right? And if it starts to freeze, it'll just freeze, but it'll freeze out. It won't compress itself and go in. So important. I just take this plug and I put it inside the house along with my supplies, and when I get ready for the spring, I then wrap this up with silicone tape. And then plug it back in. Very easy. So you just want to be mindful of that process. All right, let's show you the next step. These adapters are quick connects. Here's a quick connect, and here is a bushing. This is a male threaded bushing and a female threaded bushing on this side, and this quick connect just screws right into there, and then you put this into your system. And so I have adapters like this. If you have a spigot, this is the one that goes over the spigot, and then what I do here is I then insert this into here like this. You see this, you start to build on it, and then I screw this into the actual spigot, and then I have my adapter that's right there. Bushings like this, they can range from anywhere from $1 to $4, depending on the size that you need. But if you look here, I have this size, I have this size, I have this size, and this adapter, and I pretty much get every system that I can work with. All right, let's go on to the next step. So I know that this one's for my system, so this is the one I'm going to use. So what I like to do is take some plumber's tape and just quickly give it a layer. This will just seal it so that there's no air leaks. You go around, that's about good enough. You don't need too much. This is not for a permanent job, so you just want to make sure it just gets sealed enough inside there so that air doesn't leak. That's about good. All right, then you just put this in like you took the other one out. Get your channel locks, great tool. All right, good, tight, nice and tight. All right, next step is you take your hose directly from your air compressor. Here's your quick connect that goes in, makes it real easy. These are the quick connect system, so this will just snap right on. And you see that? There you go. There's no leaks, there's no air, there's nothing coming out. So now you're ready to start blowing out the system, and I'll show you what those steps are. What you're looking at here is the top-down approach of the air compressor. These are your gauges. This is how much air is in your tank. This is how much air is going out of your tank. And so when I charge this, this will go up to the max amount that it can be charged to, and then this will start to go up to the actual set point. This is your regulator. This regulator controls how much PSI is going to go out and be delivered outside to a tool, but in this case to the sprinkler system. So this is important where you want to make sure this is absolutely set correctly. And I'll show you what to do here. So in order to charge the system, right now this is off. Right, it's in the down position. I'm going to sit there and flick it up. It's going to be loud, so hang tight. Okay, so now this compressor has an automatic cutoff. Once it reaches 125 psi, it cuts off. What you do have to remember is, since you're going to blow out a system, this is going to rapidly discharge once you open up one of your zones. You have to shut this off before you begin. So you take this switch and just flip it down, and now it's shut off. So that now this is going to go down, it's going to deplete. It just won't kick back on, which is important. Once it's depleted, you then go back and recharge the system and do that step all over again. Okay, so now you have it 125 psi in the tank. Now you want to set your regulation. So this is, again, caution to where you go. If you tighten it, it can go all the way up to here. You know, it can go all the way up to there. This is a no-no. You do never, never, never want to blow out your zones with that amount of pressure. I go down all the way to right here. So if you twist it out, you'll see it starts to go down. Now I'm going past 90. Now I'm going past 80. Now I'm going past 70. So I generally stop it right there, which is at about 65 psi. That is a safe zone for your system. You never, ever, ever want to go above 75 on your system. You always want to make sure it's very safe. And so start as low as you can to see how it performs. You blow out the zones, and I'll start to show you what that looks like, but you blow out your zones. And as soon as you start seeing a fine mist to like a fog, to no fog, your line is then clear, and you can then go to the next zone. Again, this is a cycle through. This is what you're going to have to do with each zone. Deplete it, start it up, put it on, and then turn it back off. Do it again, and you'll see the cycle. You'll learn as you go through, so it's fairly easy. But this is the most important step, is to make sure that your system is regulated properly to the proper PSI. Okay, now that you got that, let's go on to the next step. There are two ways you can engage your system. One is through this box right here, which is your solenoid box. This is where all your zones will be. This is where I would say 90% of the people blow out their system. This is where they start. And this is the preferred way that I do it. Other people go into the house, into the control box, and they turn it on zone by zone, which I'll show you as well. But here, this step, you just take this cover off right here, and then you see your exposed solenoids right here. So this is a zone, this is a zone, this is a zone, and this is a zone. And the way that you engage this, which I'll show you, is you take each zone, one of these, and you twist it this way, right? So you go that way and you twist it. What you don't want to do is you don't want to twist it off, right? These are under pressure because you have it connected to air pressure. You don't want to twist it off, so you're just going to slightly twist it until you start to hear it engage, and then you're going to hear a little thump. Once that thump goes along, then the sprinkler system will go on. All right, so here I'm going to pick this solenoid right here. What you want to do is you want to go from left to right, right to left. You just want to remember where you went, so it doesn't really matter as long as you remember the order. So here I'm going to do the backyard, so I'm going to show you what that looks like. This one's this one. So you want to slowly turn to the left, and that's this way. Right, because what you want to happen is you don't want to take this off. Again, this is a caution where you can damage your system. These things do come off, they do twist off, and there's a bunch of rubber O-rings and seals and gaskets. If you have this under high pressure or pressure and it comes off, those gaskets will blow off and you will have to buy new ones. You'll have to find it. So that's why you slowly take it and slowly twist it off. Now listen, you're going to start to hear it engage. It starts to hiss. And then a little twist, and then it's going to thump. And that's when you know it's on. So now what you want to do is you want to go through each solenoid one by one, however you want to do it. Just make sure you unloosen it, let it cycle through, then tighten it back, then charge your compressor again, then loosen it, let it cycle through again, just put it back, you have to tighten it again, then charge the compressor again, and then go through each zone twice, 3 times. Sometimes for good measure I'll come back and I'll do every single one all over again. And then once you're done, just make sure that you go in this to this, and you just make sure they're all good and tight, put them to the right. And once they're good and tight, they're ready to go. And then you're just ready to go. You're nice and winterized. You have a whole system that's blown out. So that's one way to do it. I'll show you the other way. Okay, so this would be the other way that you can engage your system and engage each zone by zone. What you want to do here is go to your box. You want to turn the dial or press the button. Each box is different. Your control panel is going to be different, but this is how mine is set up. They should be the same in concept. And then here's what you do. You sit there and you go turn it to manual station. It's on 1, and then you turn it to run right there. So you would just do this and run, and then it would engage that system to run. You'd have to do this back and forth. If you want to go to another system, right, you just sit there and hit next, and now it goes to the second zone. Or if you want to go to the third, it goes to the third zone. If you want to go to the fourth, you hit next, and you go to the fourth zone, and then you just twist it to run. So what you do here, instead of the solenoid where you're twisting off, where you're twisting that off, here you're just going to system by system and engage in that system. Effectively, you're doing the same thing. For me, this is a little bit of a pain in the butt because what I have to do is I'd have to go outside, run back downstairs, go outside, run back downstairs into my basement, and that's a huge pain in the butt. So I just go to the solenoid system right there because everything is right there. And I would say probably 90% of the systems that I see get blown out, or the systems that I help get blown out, I go right to the solenoid system. So pretty easy, standard stuff, and you should have something similar like this. All right, so now that you blew out everything, now what you want to do is just undo it and just get it ready for the spring. So here what I'm going to do is first disconnect this hose, do that, then you just take this off right here. All right, I should be able to twist this off now, yep. Okay, now that you've blown your system out, pretty much everything is drained out. Now what you want to do is you want to ensure that your pressure breaker valve is also drained. And so the process in which I go through here is you have these 2 test cocks, and they're right here. So I'd remove these caps, and then they have these little screw systems right here. When it's up, that means it's closed. So what you want to do is take your screwdriver, open it up, just like that, open it up. So you want to make sure it's horizontal on both sides. Because I already blew this out, it's already done. But there are times where this water will come out or pressure will blow out. And so you'll see water from here and you'll see water from here. So this is really an important step. If you don't take the steps to open this up and drain this out, these pieces, they're brass, they will break very easily. And you basically, what I do here is I just leave this open for the winter. I may half turn it, right, so that water doesn't get in like that, and half turn this. So you have that, but you don't want to close it. and then I half turn this, I half turn this, and then my system is ready. And the reason why you do this is to prevent any water that can come in. You want it to have an exit point, right? You want it to come out through here, right? Or if any water goes in through here, right, for whatever reason, rain goes up or whatever the case is, it goes into here. If any water was to get in here, you just want to open it up so that there's no pressure and that there's nothing in here that can actually freeze over. Because if these freeze over, you do have to replace them. They do get costly after a while. And these things are the first things to bust, in addition to these and these. And I know this because these have busted on me. One year where I was not quick enough to winterize my system. It froze over very quickly, and then I had a crack as soon as I opened it up the following year. So it's unfortunate. These things do work. I prefer a different system, but to actually buy this whole unit, it's about 120 bucks, 80 bucks if you can get on discount, but it's about 80 to 120 bucks when these things are about $6 each. So I opted to get these things for $6. I did have to repair this. I plan on replacing all this anyway. And what I want to do is, instead of blowing through here, which then blows through the breaker valve, what I want to do here is I'm going to put an access point right here. I'm going to close this valve, and then I'm going to blow my system through that way. And that way it's just a little bit of a cleaner job, and it makes me safe of mind. But what I've been doing for years has been working for me. Again, make sure you leave these open. Make sure you leave these open, right? Half turns, half turns. So you want to leave these open. And then as a final good measure, here's what I like to do. I like to take a bag, put it on like that, go through here. You don't want it blown away, so I'm going to take a piece of duct tape. The reason why I do this is because I do get a lot of snow, we get a lot of rain, and snow can build up on this. It can start to freeze over, melt inside, somehow get inside, and it just is just an absolute prevention of water getting in. That's how I go about doing this. All right, and that's it. And so I hope you learned something through this episode, and I hope you've got the feeling that you can probably tackle this on and do it yourself. That's the point of my channel, is to show everybody that you can do it yourself. I'm not a professional, so these are the things that I picked up as owning a home. Things get expensive, and $80 each time seems to be fairly expensive, especially when it's a pretty easy job. This tool right here is fairly inexpensive, especially if you get 2 seasons out of it. But it's also a great tool to have just around the house, especially if you own a home, to fix things up. And so, I just want to show people that you can do this and get it done, right? Do stuff yourself and save yourself some money. And that's the point of why I like doing this. So if you like what you see, consider subscribing, give it a thumbs up, and I hope to see you again. So happy DIY and take care.